Whether it's cars, comics, video games, or violins, there's a little geek in all of us. It's time to give your geek a voice. It's time for Geek Therapy. Here's your host, Johnny Hamburger.
Oh my goodness. What a week. And it's not, well, I was going to say it's not over yet. It is over. My week is over, but it's Sunday midnight. So that means this week is just beginning with a hurricane. So this is Geek Therapy Radio, Hurricane Harvey edition. I am your host, Johnny Hamburger, your mental curator for this evening, and the show is pre-recorded. I am recording it right now on a Thursday night, all truth be told, and I can only pray that right now, as you're listening to this on Sunday morning, 12:06 Sunday morning, technically Saturday night, technically Sunday morning, actually, I hope you guys are doing okay out there. I hope your heads are above water. That was really the main issue with this storm. For Houston, at least, isn't going to be the winds necessarily. It's the water. You know, with the tropical storm, 90% of the deaths are from water, from flooding. People getting caught up in it, you know, and it's a lot of people thinking, oh, I need to go save my car, or I need to go save my flat screen TV or whatever, or save my gaming PC. No. The water's rising. Get out. Nothing is worth losing your life for. I know we're super geeky about our stuff, about our computers, about our electronics, about our technology, about our hobbies, but it's not worth losing your life over. You can replace stuff. You can replace your house, and that's always easier said than done, I know, but you can't replace your life. You cannot enjoy your hobbies anymore. You cannot geek out about your RC aircraft or your music or whatever if you're dead. So I hope everybody is safe tonight. Another note, other than the hurricane, which is on us right now as you're listening, if you're listening, you know, on the air, KPRC 950, it's August 27th. And I'll give all my music geeks out there just a second to think about why August 27th is important, is a sad day for music. There was 1 second. I'll be more specific. Why August 27th is a sad day for the blues. And a sad day for me. Stevie Ray Vaughan died on this day, August 27th, 1990, after a show at Alpine Valley. Died in a helicopter crash. Official cause of death, severed aorta, which causes of death like that are interesting to me because, you know, you can't just write down helicopter crash. Your heart had a severed aorta. So I guess we don't have to concentrate on the gory specifics about how he died. We lost a legend on this day, August 27th, 1990. 27 years ago. August 27th, and it's 27 years ago today. So that sucks. Stevie Ray Vaughan, yeah, I'll get on to technology stuff in a second. I really want to talk about the new Galaxy Note 8 that just came out. But just for my music geeks, and even more specifically blues geeks, I'm a huge blues geek. So Stevie Ray Vaughan was so influential to me. I used to go out in the garage and play guitar along with Stevie for several hours a day, starting really in middle school. Like when I was learning how to play guitar, I would put Voodoo Child just on repeat and play along with Stevie Texas flood, which I'm going to bump out of this segment with Texas flood. It is so appropriate. Today, Stevie Ray Vaughan died in 1990. It's flooding in Texas. How could I not bump out this segment with Texas flood? And I think what I'm going to do is, we'll see if I actually adhere to this, but Stevie Ray Vaughan songs for all the bump outs. Texas flood, man, how appropriate. The day Stevie died, and it's flooding down in Texas. I am not happy with my electronics right now. The technology in my life is frustrating to me. I don't know if you can see in the background, probably not. Maybe you can. I've got my, I'll pan around, even though it's not going to be in focus. I've got my DJI Phantom 3 back there. I've had so many issues with this. I've been battling with the camera, fixing the camera, and I just put in my third lucky try ribbon cable into the camera because it was severed. I had a crash. It might have been over a year ago at this point is the last time I flew, but I've just been putting off fixing the camera. Actually, I've tried fixing the camera 2 or 3 times before to no avail, so I'm just so frustrated with it. But I got the ribbon cable installed, and I got video from the camera. It's a DJI Phantom 3 Professional, so it shoots in 4K and all that. Yeah, but the camera, the Phantom is officially codenamed Albatross now. It has been my Albatross for a year. And for those of you who don't know what that colloquialism means, Albatross means just an almost impossible project that you're working on. But somehow I got it off the ground, and it works. Actually, I didn't fly it. It flies fine. The actual body of the Phantom works just fine. It's the camera, which if the camera doesn't work on a DJI, there's no point to it. There's no point to the quadcopter if it's not for digital photography. So I installed the third Lucky Charm ribbon cable in it, and I got video. Hooray! But the video was very bad and upside down. So me not flying the Phantom in around a year means I'm backed up in the firmware updates. So I have been pulling my hair out doing these firmware updates, getting so many errors and problems. And it's just the universe telling me it's time to get a Mavic Pro. But here's the thing. The Mavic Pro is $1,000. I don't have $1,000 to spend on a toy right now. And the other thing that happened last weekend after my buddy Nathan's wedding, which congratulations, Mazel Tov, Nate and Monica. It was a very beautiful small ceremony. The dinner was great. We went to a club in Galveston called Float. Long story short, I had also recently fixed my Galaxy Note 3. If you guys remember, I've been rocking the Galaxy Note 3 since 2013. So I had just fixed the charging port in it. I had just replaced that little circuit board, and it was working fine. And if you go to my Geek Therapy Instagram, you'll see that I have a little caption. It's fixed 4 more years, since I've had it for 4 years, and I fixed the charging port, and it should have lasted me another 4 years. Anyways, I had my Note 3 in my pocket at the club, and this club has a pool in the middle of it, like a swimming pool. So my friends threw me in the pool, and I had my phone in my pocket that I just fixed. And so my phone got destroyed. Actually, yes, it did get wet, and it was broken at that point, but I could fix it. I have fixed waterlogged phones before, and I could have fixed my Note 3. But I wound up putting it in the oven too long here at work and melting it. So, goodbye Note 3. That's my fault. I put the oven at 150 degrees, which is fine, which is par for the course for drying out a phone. You let it air dry, and then you can put it in the oven on warm, a little bit warm for 10, 15 minutes just to go the rest of the way. But Yeah, I guess 150 in this oven here at work is like 350. I don't know. My phone melted. The screen delaminated. It was destroyed. It's not my friend's fault. They were very clever. And before they threw me in the pool, my girlfriend was like, "Here, let me take your phone out." And I was looking at my phone. "Here, just set it down on the table and go take a picture. I'll take a picture of you with your two friends and your brother." So I was like, "Okay." So I set my phone down, and they were setting up the shot. I guess they were getting into the frame, whatever. And then I got a text or a notification, and I checked my phone. And out of habit, I just put it right back in my pocket real quick. Nobody caught that I had put my phone back in my pocket. So I checked the notification, and I put the phone immediately back in my pocket, and into the pool I was thrown. And even I had forgotten I had just put my phone in my pocket. So I came up out of the water, brushed my luxurious hair back, and handed them my phone, saying, "Here you go. Can you take my phone?" I took it all apart like military gun style. Like, I've taken a phone apart so many times. Took all the components out and detached the battery, which had short-circuited, obviously. And so my phone, after I tried trying it out, which I had done many times before with success, I destroyed my phone. Rest in peace, Galaxy Note 3. The phone I'm using right now, I don't even know what it is. It's another Samsung, but it's super old. 1 core, 2 gigs of storage, 512 megabytes of RAM. It is not cutting it in 2017, but I can make calls and texts, and I'm still on the grid with this until I get my new phone. Which will probably just be a Note 4 for now, honestly. Which leads me to my segue into the next segment. I'm going to be talking about the new Galaxy Note 8. What are my thoughts on it? What are the specs on it? So stick around. There's more Geek Therapy Radio to come. Hit all the social sites. Geek Therapy Radio on Facebook. Geek Therapy Radio on Instagram. Geek Therapy Radio on YouTube. Go watch these shows. I record all these shows so I can show you my crappy little phone. You can go to YouTube and see it. Also, geektherapyradio.com. I don't stress that one enough. geektherapyradio.com. I've got my own website. You can catch the latest episodes there. You can catch the latest YouTube on there. So geektherapyradio.com. Go check it out. We'll be right back with the next segment with my thoughts on the new Galaxy Note 8. And we'll let Stevie Ray Vaughan take you out with, "Well, it's flooding down in Texas."
The sky is crying. Cannons and tears roll down the street.
Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. I am Johnny Hamburger, your mental curator for this stormy, possibly windy evening, depending where you're listening to, and the severity of the storm, and how far it has made landfall. Though it's Sunday morning, about 12:20ish right now. So everyone's probably pretty wet, and I gotta be honest, this is kind of a distracting episode. I'm a little distracted because I'm thinking about what's going on outside, and I really just hope and pray that all my geeks in my geekdom, my kingdom of geeks, are doing well. Please stay safe out there. So I'll just get right into it. I said I was going to talk about the new Galaxy Note 8. Everybody remembers the fate of the Galaxy Note 7, the infamous exploding phone. By the way, the reason for that was Samsung admits they were trying to really push the envelope with Apple, to compete with Apple. So they crammed the biggest battery they possibly could inside the case. I think it was 3,500 milliamp hour, and it was just too big. So the corners of the battery would get cinched. They were kind of smushed. into the case. And that created a short circuit in some of the phones, and they famously burst into flames. Lithium-ion batteries burn fast and hot. So I should get my hands out of my face. So that's what happened with the Galaxy Note 7. By the way, side note, you can still get the Galaxy Note Fan Edition, which is just a refurbished Galaxy Note 7. This time the battery's smaller, like 3,200 milliamp hours, and it has gone through Samsung's very rigorous new battery testing procedure. What is it? I think there's 8 steps in the new test. Samsung used what was bad, obviously, about their phones blowing up to create a new program of testing that hopefully the industry will adopt. The rest of the industry will adopt. So it's a brand new multi-step safety check of the new batteries and testing of these batteries to ensure that never happens again. So you can still get a Galaxy Note Fan Edition. They're around $700. I saw on YouTube people saying you can pick one up for around $500, and I was like, oh great, my Note 3 just blew up. Maybe I'll get a Galaxy Note Fan Edition, which for all intents and purposes is the same hardware roughly as a Galaxy S7 Edge. So really good. It's a really good phone. So I've seen people on YouTube say, "Oh, it's $500." I've not seen it anywhere for $500. If it was $500, I was thinking with my broken Note 3 that I might pick one up for that price point. That's still a lot of money, but it's way better than the Note 8, which, get this, is going to cost over $900. Holy moly. Yes, but I mean, hopefully with the Note 8 being released, the Fan Edition, the Note Fan Edition will drop in price. I've been seeing them around $700 or so on eBay and Amazon. But like I said before, I'm probably just going to pick up a Note 4 for now, around $200, and I'll get a Note 8 later. But that's just me. Let's dive into the Note 8. I'll just give the specs and everything, and then I'll tell you what I think about it. I have not had my hands on it to review yet. So if somebody wants to send me a review unit or just give me a Note 8, sure, I'll take it. But yeah, anyways, specs. It's got the new Snapdragon 835 CPU. What is beeping? Why is my show always interrupted by beeps and calls? Hold on 1 second. It is the DJI Phantom. It was my DJI Phantom remote control beeping at me. This thing is... I don't have much more hair to lose, but it's making me pull my little follicles out. Anyway, Note 3, Snapdragon 835 CPU. Outside of the US, it gets the Exynos 8895 outside the United States and in China. It's Samsung's flagship phone. That goes without saying. 6 gigabytes of RAM. That is crazy on a phone. Do you need 6 gigabytes of RAM on a phone? I don't think so. But arguably, I think that it has 6 gigabytes of RAM because of all the new multitasking you're able to do on this phone. For those who don't know, the Galaxy Note it's called a phablet. It's a mix between a phone and a tablet. It's huge. The screen is massive. What is it, like 6 inches or something like that? Maybe it's a little bit bigger than that. The point doesn't matter. The point is that it's a huge screen. So multitasking is a real thing on phones that big. You can be looking at a few different applications running at the same time. For instance, you could be editing a Word document on one part of the screen while watching a YouTube video on the top part of the screen. That's really, really cool. And with a screen that big, that's actually very usable and very, very efficient. So that's why I think that it has 6 gigs of RAM. Although using 2 applications at one time is not going to chew up anywhere near 6 gigabytes of RAM, I guess the point is that you never have to shut down any task in the background. You can always have those background tasks going and then bring up your multitask view and bring up whatever you want. It's a pet peeve of mine almost when people, switch out of one task to go to another, and I see that they have like 20 open tasks running on their phone, and then they're like, why does my battery life suck? Because you have 20 tasks running on your phone. I personally, every task that I'm done with, like let's say I'm on Instagram, I click out of Instagram and I close that task. I swipe it left, I close that task. But with 6 gigabytes of RAM, that's not so important anymore. The phones come preloaded with either 64 gigs, 128, or 256 gigs of internal storage, which is awesome. But it's also awesome that you have a micro SD card. You can expand it with a micro SD up to 256 more gigabytes. That means on your phone with a 256 gig internal storage and 256 gig SD card, you're rocking almost half a terabyte of storage on a freaking smartphone. That's amazing. In my Note 3, I had, it's like 32 gigs internal, and then I had a 128 gigabyte micro SD card. So I was almost 200 gigs of storage on a smartphone. I thought I was pretty good with that, and I was really good with that. I didn't come anywhere near loading up that SD card with enough videos and music and stuff like that. I had a bunch of emulators on there. That's one reason I like the big screen on a phone is emulators. Running a Super Nintendo emulator, playing your Street Fighter 2 on the go is awesome on a big phone. Obviously, I have a cradle for it, a controller cradle. So I have my joystick. I'm using actual physical controls, and my phone sits in the cradle on top of the joystick, and I'm just super nerd out. Like if I'm waiting for my tires to get changed, I'll be sitting there in the waiting room playing Street Fighter 2. It is amazing. So more specs. The 12, it's got a dual camera on the back. It's a 12 megapixel camera. One of them's a telephoto lens, and one of them's a wide angle lens. So the telephoto lens has two times optical zoom, not that digital zoom bullcrap. Obviously, once you zoom in past the 2 times optical zoom, you get into the digital zoom. But the sheer fact that it offers 2 times optical is amazing. Also, what's amazing is it has optical image stabilization, which isn't such a new thing on phones. The Note 4 has optical image stabilization, but that just means the video and the photos on this thing are going to be just bar none amazing. I think that the Google phone Pixel has a better camera. Like objectively and professionally, I think it has a little bit better. But this new Samsung phone, Samsung Note 8, is going to have awesome imaging. Do not get me wrong. Awesome low light performance, which is really important if you're at parties and stuff, at the bar, at the club, taking a picture, taking a selfie. Actually, not so much a selfie, but with the rear camera, you can have awesome low light performance, which means when you take a picture in a dark room, it's not going to be this blurry, washed out dark image. It's going to actually see faces, which is great. Headphone Jack. Hooray, Headphone Jack. Are you listening, Apple? And it's not just Apple now that's getting rid of headphone jacks. There's other manufacturers getting rid of the headphone jack too. I don't understand it. I am not alone in thinking that I would rather have a slightly thicker phone. You know, these phones, they're advertising so thin, so thin, so thin. You know what? No, you know what so thin means? So thin means no battery. Means crappy battery life. Means a small battery. I will take the extra millimeter or two to have a big battery in my phone. Something that I'm not constantly having to recharge. So I will take a little bit more thickness to have a little bit more extra battery life during the day or during 2 days. One of the first things I do with my phones is put a case on it with a bigger battery, because I do not like constantly having to charge my phone. The Note 8 is also IP68, waterproof and dustproof, which doesn't mean proof. It means resistant. I don't know why people keep using the word IP68 waterproof and dustproof. That's not real. You cannot leave your Note 8 or your phone that's IP68 rated, at the bottom of the ocean, 10 feet down for an hour and expect it to work. It might still work, but waterproof is a misnomer. It's water resistant. What else has got going on? A 4K video recording, that's kind of ho-hum at this point. The battery is 3,300 milliamp hours, which will be decent for running it through the day. The screen, what was the screen? The screen is 1440 by 2960. That's a PPI of 522 pixels per inch. That means that means text and everything looks really good, because the human eye won't be able to detect a pixel. So it's just going to look amazingly sharp on the screen. I personally will probably turn down the resolution to 1920 by 1080, but we'll see. We'll see if I even get a Note 8. Like I said, it's $900, but it is an awesome phone. Do not get me wrong. The Note 8 is an amazing phone. But here's my rub. Here's my commentary on the Note 8, and here's my commentary on phones in general. As you know, I kept my Note 3 because I didn't think that beyond improvements to cameras, phone cameras, I didn't think there was enough there to write home about. I don't think there was enough there to go spend $900 on a new phone. I didn't think it was good enough for that. Yes, they are amazing, but stacking my Note 3 against, a Galaxy S8, it does all the same stuff beautifully, and it ran beautifully and fast, and I could run all my emulators and all my high-intensity applications on there wonderfully. The screen was awesome. The battery life was awesome. What was the point in upgrading to a $900 phone if my Note 3 worked just as well, almost? If my Note 3, if a 4-year-old, here's a better way to put it. If a 4-year-old phone is 95% as good as a bleeding edge flagship, like Note 8, for instance, to me, there's no point in upgrading. Yes, the Note 8 and flagships are going to be better, measurably better as far as the processor and everything, but in day-to-day use, you're really not going to notice much of a difference. The new phones have fingerprint scanners and iris scanners and all sorts of stuff, but I don't know, man. See, my Note 3 just got broken, so now I've got an excuse to upgrade. But I swear that $900 price point is just almost a deal breaker. That's so much money. That's why I'm probably just going to get a Note 4. The Note 5 skipped. That's when they got rid of the removable battery, and that's when they got rid of external micro SD card storage, which I need that. I need that external storage. So the Note 8 looks awesome, and maybe I have an excuse to get one now. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Note 8 is sexy. I'll just say it. It's really sexy. It's a good-looking phone. Screen is brilliant. Looks really good. And if you see my eyes darting off camera, it's because I'm looking at pictures of it on the computer here. It really is an amazing phone. I would love to have one. I would not love to spend $900 on one. So for now, probably a Note 4 for me. Call me old school. But I'm just not a super duper geek about phones. That's not really my shtick. That's not really my geekdom. I appreciate them, and I'm sure once I have a Note 8 that I'm just going to be like, oh, how did I ever live with a Note 3? I'm sure I'll be fine, though. Anything is better than this piece of garbage that I'm working with right now. Anyways, more Geek Therapy Radio to come. Stick around. I'm going to talk about more things. There's quite a bit more to talk about. So join me at the other side of this break. Stay dry. Go get yourself a drink. There's nothing else to do. You're probably just in your house or wherever you are, weathering out the storm. So I raise a beer to you. I don't have a beer with me, but I raise it up physically, mentally. Cheers. We'll be right back with more Geek Therapy Radio. Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. I am Johnny Hemberger, your mental curator for this evening. And welcome to segment 3. You guys staying dry? You guys all right? You know, during the commercials, it's okay to hop over to KTRH and see what's going on with the storm. And if you're listening to this or watching on YouTube in the future, it is August 27th, 2017, and we are dealing with Hurricane Harvey here in the Houston area, here in South Texas. Yeah, so I just hope everyone's doing okay. Be safe. Remember what I said earlier, nothing's worth losing your life over. I know we're geeks and we love our hobbies and we love our electronics and we love our computers and our model cars and model airplanes and whatever you're into, but it's not worth your life. So please stay safe. Like I said earlier, there's plenty more to talk about this episode. And I'll just hit real quick on Intel. Intel's first 8th generation processors are just updates of the 7th gen. We're not a Coffee Lake or anything like that. It's just more Kaby Lake stuff. So it just means more marginal improvements. Hooray. As far as CPUs go, I've covered this a lot on Geek Therapy. AMD is where it's at right now. Yes, you can get better performance out of Intel processors. Arguably. Actually, I mean, it's not even arguable. Per core performance, Intel is better. But what AMD has done is offered multi-core processors, you know, with Ryzen 7 and everything, and Threadripper. Threadripper's got 16-core processors. So in multi-threaded applications, basically applications that take advantage of more cores, AMD is killing it. AMD blows Intel out of the water right now. Dollar per dollar. Remember, dollar to dollar, AMD is destroying Intel. And Intel's not helping itself. 8th generation Intels are just minor improvements of 7th generation. Whoop-de-freaking-do. Whatever. It's fine. You know, I still rock Intel processors. I don't have an AMD processor yet. I want to do an AMD build this year. I'm going to do I want to do a Threadripper build this year, and that's going to be the first AMD build I've done in 10 years, maybe since Athlon. I don't know. It's been a little while, but yeah. So Intel, I'm not knocking them necessarily. It's just it seems like they've fallen asleep while AMD has been making massive strides. Turtle in the hair style. Intel was so far ahead, they rested on their laurels, and AMD is just whoop right there at the finish line. Catching Intel off guard, obviously. Big time catching Intel off guard. So that's to cap that little statement. 8th gen Intels are just minorly improved 7th gen. Whoop-de-doo. We've basically been doing that since Haswell. Or Devil's Canyon, arguably. I don't know. It's Intel, like I said, they've just been incrementally making these improvements. Meanwhile, AMD has shot ahead, arguably, or have come very close to Intel while offering products at half the price, a fraction of the price of Intel. Good job. The next big story, though, is that Android, the new Android OS, has officially released Android 8.0 Oreo. And isn't it funny that Android releases their new operating system so closely to the Note 8 launch? You think Samsung was talking to Android saying, hey, about that update, about that Oreo update, Android 8.0, might be nice to have it on our new flagship. So, Android, could you get on the release date of that? And that's exactly what happened. So, what improvements? All I want to know with these new OSs is what's the improvement? How's it making anything better? And always what I hope for, my biggest concern with these new updates is please do more battery saving functions. For instance, earlier I talked about people having so many tasks open in the background of their phones. I'm hoping this new update does better to manage those background tasks and not give so many CPU resources to those background tasks. And that apparently is what 8.0 Oreo is doing much better. The notification panel obviously looks different, new layout, colors, and features. Snoozing should help battery life when your phone is off. It'll basically shut down or severely limit what background sources. For instance, when you set up your email on your phone, how often is your phone syncing up your email inbox? So while your phone is off, that means your Wi-Fi is still turning on or whatever. Your 4G LTE is still turning on, 5G, whatever. I don't know what people have now, but 4G definitely. It's turning on your radios. It's turning on your antennas. It's sucking power to basically check for, emails, which to me is dumb. And I know that you can set most Android devices to shut off Wi-Fi while not plugged in, but still, if your phone is still checking for emails, for instance, while your phone is off, to me that's dumb. So Android 8.0 Oreo does a better job of restricting those background tasks, especially while the phone's off. That's what snooze is. So yeah, it's just better for battery life. It's also better for performance. All these things happening in the background really affects your phone's performance. I've been pulling my hair out a lot. I've been pulling my hair out with my NVIDIA Shield tablet for a while now. It came out in 2014, but it's still one of the best tablets, one of the most powerful tablets you can buy today. Still. So it makes no sense that it's so laggy, so frustratingly laggy and slow. There's a workaround where I've installed ES Task Manager back there, and I can just basically, anytime I think it's running slow, I can just basically shut down all those background tasks. It closes all those background tasks, clears out the RAM, and I have a nice snappy tablet again. But Android 8.0 should be better at automatically managing that, which means your system performs better overall, and especially in the task you're in, the task that you have open, the app that you have open, because the background apps, you're not using them. So why are they using up CPU resources? Android 8.0 should do a better job of managing that. I know what I do a lot on my tablet is I'll have, Microsoft OneNote open, or what else? Facebook or something like that. But I'll have my Pandora or my Power Amp or whatever music playing in the background while I do another task. So 8.0 should be better at seeing you're listening to music. That really doesn't take so much CPU power. But we see you're also on Facebook or Instagram, so we're just going to use barely what's only required for the background music and focus more of the processing power to the task at hand. Really, that's kind of always the way it's been, but Android 8.0 Oreo should make that a lot better. And I really hope Android 8.0 eventually rolls out to the NVIDIA Shield, which on that note, a while back, there was rumors that NVIDIA was releasing another Shield tablet, which I was super excited about. But as soon as NVIDIA announced their partnership with Nintendo, we all knew, nope, they're not building a new NVIDIA Shield tablet anymore. We know that they're going to be focusing all their attention on the Nintendo Switch. Because the Nintendo Switch, as it turns out, has an NVIDIA SoC, system on chip. That's what's running your NVIDIA, or running your Shield, running your Nintendo Switch is NVIDIA hardware. So, in an official statement, NVIDIA, when asked, "Are you still releasing, or why did you get rid of your new tablet? Why did you kill that program?" They said, "Business reasons." Well, that business reason was the Nintendo Switch. Arguably, the Nintendo Shield, it's so hard. Arguably, the NVIDIA, you can call the Switch the NVIDIA. Arguably, the NVIDIA Shield tablet was real world product testing for the Switch. Arguably, basically making a gaming tablet. NVIDIA tested the product with us before releasing the Nintendo Switch, before officially announcing they're in bed with Nintendo. And for good reason. The Nintendo Switch is awesome. It's so hard talking about the Nintendo Switch and NVIDIA Shield. They're both NS. They're both NVIDIA Shield, Nintendo Switch. So it's very easy to say Nintendo Shield, NVIDIA Switch. Could this nomenclature in technology be any more difficult? With that, we'll be right back with more Geek Therapy Radio. We'll finish up with a few more little tidbits and little nerdy things. I'm Johnny Hamburger. Hope you're staying dry out there. Keep listening to Geek Therapy Radio. Go hit all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff, geektherapyradio.com. With that, we'll be right back with more GTR.
Couldn't stand the weather.
Okie dokie. Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. You still wish me? You know, it's really hard to talk sometimes. Are you still with me? I'm Johnny Hamburger, your mental curator, and I'm going to finish up this quick segment with a couple things to talk about, and I'm going to get right into it. We're going to make plastic out of... Let's start over. We're going to 3D print parts in space out of pee-pee. For real. Researchers have found that a certain species of yeast, when mixed with some of the ingredients from pee-pee, specifically urea, and carbon from what astronauts exhale, carbon, when the yeast mixed with that, it can create polymers. And from those polymers, we can 3D print parts that we might need to use in space. When you're traveling to Mars, you cannot bring a whole bunch of spare parts. So what you can do is they're trying to figure out, you need to be able to recycle every single thing, including an astronaut's waste. So they're figuring out that they can use some chemicals in pee, specifically urea, specifically the nitrogen in urea, and then they can get the carbon from the carbon dioxide that we exhale to make basically print 3D print parts. Talking is really hard tonight. That's all I'll say on that. Fun fact, when, I don't know if it's the same now, but in the old days when astronauts went poo-poo, they put them in bags. They put it in bags and they would stick it to the sides of the capsule of whatever spacecraft they were in, because doo-doo is really good at filtering radiation. So it's just more protection from the radiation of space. They would just line, not visibly, it's not like you could see anything gross, but just kind of, they would pack their waste into pockets around the capsule because it would help shield them even more from radiation. Isn't that interesting? Let's move off that subject. Final Fantasy 15 is coming out for the PC. It's coming out for Windows. It'll be available on Steam and Origin and all that stuff. NVIDIA is signed on to take care of a lot of the graphics to make Final Fantasy 15 look amazing on the PC. This isn't going to be just a straight up port. Like, for instance, Final Fantasy 13 was ported to the PC from the PS3. And it was notoriously bad when it was first ported. You can only do 720 at 30 frames a second, and that was no bueno. What's the point of porting it over to PC if we can't have our glorious 4K and I don't know if you can go up to 60 frames a second, but at least up the resolution and anti-aliasing and all sorts of other good things to make it look super crispy on our PC screens. Final Fantasy 15 is going to be different. They're working directly with NVIDIA, and it's going to look awesome, and I'm going to buy it because I love Final Fantasy. I used to hate RPGs when I grew up. I used to hate it when I go to my friend's house, John's house, if you're listening. I'd be like, John, are we going to play outside? Can we please play outside? Am I going to come over and you're just going to be playing Final Fantasy? He's like, no, I promise. I would go over there and undoubtedly you'd just be playing Final Fantasy on Nintendo, Super Nintendo. And I'd just sitting there twiddling my thumbs. It was so boring to me. Only later in life did I appreciate role-playing games, basically as an adult. Because it seems so crazy to me that you'd spend hundreds of hours to beat a game. I was used to playing Super Mario Brothers, which you can beat in under an hour. You know, if that. So the idea is like, oh, this game takes 600 hours to complete. I'm like, how boring is it? If it takes 600 hours, how boring must it be? Anyways, I've grown to appreciate RPGs now, later in life, role-playing games. I still don't prefer them over quick video games like Rocket League or Street Fighter, where you can play a match in 5 minutes. Bing, bang, boom, done playing the video game, move on to other things. But yeah, Final Fantasy 15 coming out for Windows, and I am going to buy it. The last thing I wanted to talk about here in the next minute, and that's all we got left for Geek Therapy Radio this week, but in the next minute is HP is releasing its newest top-tier gaming laptop, the Omen X, which you can get with an available overclockable processor. It is not AMD. I can't wait for AMD gaming laptops. That's going to be awesome. But the Omen X, you can have a 7820 HK in there, an i7 7820 HK, which is overclockable. Here's the funny thing. Here's the rub. You used to not be able to, and mostly still aren't, able to overclock CPUs in laptops for obvious reasons, that it's very hard to dissipate heat inside of a laptop. Very confined, very small space, lots of components surrounding the CPU that can get too hot. So the way the HP Omen is handling this is, among other things, got rid of the optical drive and instead using fans, more fans to cool it off. But more importantly, they're using a vapor chamber. The heatsink is going to have, and the heat pipes are going to have a vapor chamber in there. I won't get into the specifics of what a vapor chamber does, but essentially it uses convection inside the pipe, inside a gas inside the pipe, to remove heat more efficiently from the processor. The other rub is, with overclocking in a laptop, thermal throttling. You can overclock a laptop all you want, but if it thermal throttles, there's no point to it. Thermal throttling is when the CPU protects itself from getting too hot by ramping down the power of the CPU. So you can overclock to your heart's content, but if it thermal throttles, there was no point to it at all. You might as well not overclock it. So it's going to be interesting to see how the HP Omen X handles all that. And with that, that's it for Geek Therapy Radio this week. I know I packed in a lot of stuff this show. Hope you guys are safe with this Hurricane Harvey. Please be safe. Please value yourselves, and I'll get on my soapbox as I usually do. Life's too short to hate. I think that's what I'm going to talk about this week on the way out. Hate. What is the point of hating? What is the point of hating somebody based on color or religion or sexual orientation? There is no point. Hating just makes you feel bad. Hating just makes you feel terrible. On that subject, I would argue that people, I'll just touch on race a little bit. I'll just say that people really, they don't fear skin color, they fear culture. Let's use that for an example. That no one fears. I'll just get real nitty gritty. Somebody doesn't fear a black person because they are black. They might fear a culture. Same thing with a white person. They might not fear a white person because they're white. But they might represent a certain culture. Like if you're a white Nazi, you are feared because you are a Nazi. If you are a black gangbanger, you are feared because you're a gangbanger. If you're a white gangbanger, you are feared for being a gangbanger. If you look scary, like you're involved with scary things, that's why people might steer clear from you and might not like you. It has nothing to do with skin color. It has everything to do with culture. Maybe. I'm no social scientist. I just think a lot of people confuse their fear of people. They think it's because a person looks different, because their skin is different. But really, what they might be fearing is a culture that is scary to them. White, black, brown, whatever. If someone looks like they are a criminal, then they will be feared, no matter what skin color they are. So don't hate. There's no point to hating. Get to know somebody. Get to know yourself. Look at yourself. Why are you hating people? It's stupid. So don't hate. I love all you geeks, all my geeks of all different races and colors and creeds and religions and backgrounds. I love all you geeks. That is what unites us, our geekdom. So hopefully we can all get together for my show and celebrate our geekiness from all walks of life. I love you all. Please stay safe out there. Check out Geek Therapy Radio on Facebook, Geek Therapy Radio on YouTube. Go watch this episode on YouTube, Geek Therapy Radio on Instagram, and geektherapyradio.com. With that, listen to more GTR next week, because I'll be back and I'll be much more dry. Have a good one, everybody. I'm Johnny Hamburger, over and out for GTR.